April 9th does not arrive like a trumpet blast. It doesn't demand attention with chaos or thunder. It arrives like a whisper, soft, but certain. A still current of knowing that moves beneath the surface, bypassing your logic and speaking directly to your soul. If you felt a quiet pull today, if something in you has slowed without explanation or stirred without cause, you're not imagining it. You are standing in the presence of a return, not of something new, but of something ancient, something yours. This is not a call to chase, strive, or become. This is a call to remember. There are parts of you, gifts, visions, intuitions, that were never truly lost. Only quieted. Suppressed beneath the noise of survival. Hidden behind masks you wore to be accepted. Forgotten in the process of becoming what the world asked of you. But they never left. They've been waiting. And today, beneath the alignment of Mercury's clarity and Venus's depth, they begin to rise. You may not recognize this feeling at first. It won't come with labels or explanations. It may show up as a deep breath you didn't realize you needed. As a memory that surfaces out of nowhere. As a tear you weren't expecting. But at the center of it is the same message: come back. Come home. Come into yourself again. Because April 9th is not about moving forward. It's about returning to your original rhythm. To the energetic blueprint that was always meant to guide you. Before the world told you who to be. Before fear became familiar. Before doubt drowned out your inner voice. And if you're hearing this message, you're not here by accident. You are being called into remembrance. Not of knowledge you have to earn, but of wisdom that already lives inside your bones. You are being invited to recover a part of yourself that's been waiting patiently for this very moment. A frequency. A feeling. A fire that never died, only dimmed. So listen, not with your ears, but with your energy. There is guidance moving through your field today, subtle but unmistakable. The more you soften, the more you'll hear it. The more you slow down, the more you'll recognize it. And if this already resonates, if something deep within you is stirring as you take in these words, then you are already remembering. You are already returning. Take a breath. Let that be your signal. And if you feel called, type 777 in the comments, not for luck, but as a quiet affirmation that your soul is listening. That a piece of you has heard the whisper, and is saying yes. As the sky realigns and Mercury begins its forward motion through the oceanic realm of Pisces, something within you also starts to stir. But what awakens now is not intellectual clarity in the traditional sense. It's not the mind racing ahead to explain or categorize what's happening. Instead, it's something quieter, something deeper. The fog you may have been sitting in, emotionally, mentally, even energetically, doesn't suddenly vanish with this shift. But it begins to thin, revealing not sharp conclusions, but soft truths that your soul has been holding all along. You begin to sense that clarity doesn't always arrive in sentences. Sometimes, it emerges as memory, not memory of facts or timelines, but of frequency. A spiritual memory begins to rise. Moments you can't quite name, visions you didn't ask for, waves of knowing that don't fit into logic. These aren't fragments of the past, they are echoes from your higher self, whispers from the part of you that has always remembered what your mind temporarily forgot. As Mercury begins to move direct through Pisces, it's not giving you facts. It's giving you access. Access to what's been hidden beneath the noise, the pressure, the mind's demand to explain everything. This is a realm of knowing that doesn't need proof. It's a return to the inner language you were born with: emotion, image, vibration, sensation. What couldn't be said before is now felt. What you've struggled to articulate begins to make sense, not in words, but in the way it lands in your body. You may feel certain truths emerge, not because someone told you, but because you can't unknow them anymore. They arrive like soft waves, brushing against the shore of your awareness. You feel it in your chest, in your dreams, in the way your body reacts when something is either aligned or off. This is Pisces territory, where the veil between thoughts and intuition grows thin, and where truth doesn't come to be spoken, it comes to be lived. And so today, don't chase clarity in the usual way. Don't force your mind to tie everything into tidy answers. Instead, notice what your energy is responding to. Pay attention to the emotions that rise without warning. The tears that come when you least expect them. The gentle ache in your heart that points to something unresolved, or maybe something deeply remembered. Let your feelings guide you to what you already know. Because this is not just Mercury going direct, it's your own voice returning. Not the one shaped by survival or approval, but the one that was there before words. The voice of your inner compass. The voice that moves through imagery, symbols, dreams, and subtle knowing. It doesn't shout. It hums. And now, for the first time in a long time, the signal is finally coming through. This shift may feel disorienting if you try to grasp it with the mind. But if you let it wash over you, if you trust that what you're remembering now was never lost, then you'll begin to notice that the world around you is responding, too. Conversations feel different. What once triggered you now feels like it belongs to another version of you. You no longer need to argue or defend what you feel. Because when you remember at this level, you don't need confirmation. You carry the truth in your presence. And that's the gift of this moment. The intellect may not have the words yet, but the heart is already speaking. The soul is already responding. And Mercury, moving forward through the waters of Pisces, is not giving you a map, it's giving you a mirror. You're not being asked to figure it all out. You're being asked to feel it all in. To let the deeper current of your being guide you, one sensation, one breath, one intuitive whisper at a time. So breathe with it. Let yourself remember without needing to explain. The truth that returns to you now isn't new. It's ancient. And it's yours. And while Mercury is quietly restoring your inner voice, another sacred alignment unfolds in the heavens, one that asks something even deeper of you. Venus meets Saturn, not to dazzle you with beauty or romance, but to ground you. To pause you in front of a question only your soul can answer: what do I truly value now that I've changed? This is not a superficial inquiry. It doesn't deal with surface preferences or fleeting desires. This is about your core currency, your values, your emotional foundation, your inner agreements with yourself. Venus, the planet of love, beauty, connection, and self-worth, softens your field. It opens your heart. But Saturn, the keeper of boundaries, time, and discipline, stands beside her not to limit, but to refine. Together, they are asking you to take love seriously. To take your values seriously. To stop moving from emotion alone and begin building from emotional integrity. This is the moment to stop and re-examine the structure beneath your desires. What are you giving your heart to? Where have you been spending your energy, and has it been honoring your growth, or draining your light? The Venus-Saturn conjunction doesn't judge your past. But it asks that, from this moment forward, you make your inner world sacred again. That you treat your time, your attention, your tenderness not as something disposable, but as something worthy of reverence. You may feel a sudden shift today in how you relate to the people closest to you, not because they've changed, but because you have. The old emotional dynamics, the unspoken compromises, the quiet self-abandonments you once tolerated may begin to feel heavy. Or hollow. You might realize that the version of you who made those compromises no longer exists. You've outgrown the emotional contracts that required you to shrink, to please, to be available in ways that drained your soul. This isn't about cutting people off, it's about coming back to yourself. With gentleness, but with clarity. With compassion, but with truth. Venus softens the heart so that Saturn's boundaries don't become walls, but become sacred lines that define who you are and what you are no longer willing to abandon within yourself. And maybe that's the true invitation of this moment. To rewrite the silent contracts you've made with yourself over the years. The ones that said, "I'll betray my needs if it keeps the peace," or "I'll stay small so others feel comfortable," or "I'll wait until someone else validates what I feel before I honor it." These old agreements are dissolving. And in their place, something holy begins to form, a new vow. One made in stillness, without spectacle, but rooted in truth. It might sound like this: from this moment forward, I will not abandon myself to keep what was never meant for me. I will not confuse sacrifice with love. I will not mistake control for connection. I will value the tenderness of my own heart enough to choose relationships, spaces, and actions that reflect the worth I now carry. That's the vibration this alignment is awakening in you, not just to feel worthy, but to live as someone who knows they are. This is not a punishment. It's a consecration. The structures you are building now, boundaries, values, emotional discipline, are not limitations. They are the scaffolding that will hold your becoming. Saturn does not arrive to test your worth. It arrives to fortify it. And Venus does not ask you to suppress your emotions. She asks you to elevate them, to live in a way where your emotional truth and your external life are no longer in conflict. So if you feel a sobering energy today, don't resist it. If you feel less inclined to entertain what feels untrue, don't second-guess it. You are not becoming colder. You are becoming clearer. The kind of clear that can finally honor your sensitivity without sacrificing your boundaries. The kind of clear that doesn't need to chase connection, but instead becomes a home for it. Something is shifting in you. Not just how you relate to others, but how you relate to yourself. And this time, it's not about proving anything. It's about living in integrity with what you now know you deserve. That's not ego. That's alignment. There comes a point on the spiritual path where you realize that the most painful betrayal was never what someone else did to you, it was the quiet ways you turned away from yourself. The times you said yes when your body was screaming no. The moments you silenced your intuition because you didn't want to disrupt the peace. The versions of yourself you buried in order to be accepted, included, or loved in a way that was never really love at all. But today, that cycle begins to end. Today, you're not being asked to fix anything or confront anyone. You're being asked to make a new agreement, one that starts with you and ripples through every corner of your life. This is not a resolution. It's a contract. A soul-deep vow that says, I will no longer betray my own energy to belong to places that drain me. I will no longer override my inner voice to meet the expectations of a world that doesn't understand my sensitivity. I will no longer choose safety over truth, or comfort over alignment. This isn't about becoming rigid. It's about becoming honest. The energies surrounding April 9th have opened a portal for this shift. Mercury has cleared space for you to feel your truth again. Venus and Saturn have joined hands to help you value that truth enough to protect it. And now comes the sacred moment where you say yes to your own becoming, not in theory, but in practice. The version of you that used to abandon your needs in the name of love, loyalty, or obligation cannot walk with you into what's next. She, he, or they served a purpose, but now, that chapter is closed. And what rises in her place is a new self, one who trusts what she feels without explanation. One who pauses before saying yes. One who leaves the room when the energy shifts. One who speaks her truth, even when her voice shakes. One who stands beside herself, especially when no one else does. This is the alignment between your present self and your highest self. And it begins the moment you choose to stop leaving yourself behind. You may feel this as a quiet knowing or a sharp clarity. Either way, it's not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be present. To begin again. To stand at the center of your own life, not out of ego, but out of reverence for the soul you've been entrusted to steward. So breathe. And if your body relaxes as you take this in, that's your sign. You've already started the shift. You don't need to explain it to anyone. You only need to honor it. This isn't the day you became someone new. It's the day you finally stopped betraying who you've always been. There's a strange kind of familiarity that begins to rise on days like this, an unshakable feeling that you've been here before, though nothing in your logical mind can explain it. You pause for a moment in your day, and suddenly there it is, a flicker, a breath, a ripple of knowing that doesn't come from this lifetime, but from something older. Something wiser. It feels like déjà vu, but deeper. As if your soul, not your memory, is the one whispering, "Pay attention. This moment matters." This is the voice of the North Node, a celestial compass, not pointing you toward a destination, but toward destiny. And today, its energy doesn't scream. It doesn't force. It hums. Subtly. Quietly. Powerfully. And what it's saying is this: you've been here before. Not here, exactly, not this house, this job, this version of you. But this threshold. This edge. This sacred pause between what was and what will be. You've stood in this kind of moment before, in other lifetimes, other seasons, other bodies, and each time, you were asked the same thing: will you remember who you are when the path ahead looks unfamiliar? The irony is that even as everything around you begins to shift, part of you is deeply calm. Something beneath the uncertainty feels steady. You don't know what's next, but you do know how to walk. You know how to navigate by feeling. How to listen when the map disappears. How to trust the invisible thread that pulls you forward, not because it makes sense, but because it feels like truth. That thread is your soul memory. It's the knowledge that doesn't live in books or timelines, but in vibration. And when the North Node activates, like it is today, it pulls that memory closer to the surface. Not to overwhelm you, but to remind you that you're not lost. That you've prepared for this. That your hesitation doesn't mean you're unready, it means the moment is real. You may feel moments of recognition, certain people, phrases, images that light something up in your chest without explanation. You may sense a quiet urgency to act, not in panic, but with purpose. You may feel, deep in your bones, that this stretch of your journey has already been written, and now, you're simply walking it with eyes more open than before. This is the sacred return of soul memory. The echo of your higher path calling you back into alignment, not by pushing you faster, but by reminding you who you've always been beneath the forgetting. Even if no one around you understands. Even if you can't fully explain it. Your spirit remembers. So move with reverence. Trust the impulse to pause, the desire to shift, the sense that something is quietly aligning. The North Node doesn't always speak in logic, but when it does speak, its messages land like prophecy. They don't tell you what to do. They help you remember how to be. And today, that remembrance is enough. At a certain point on the path of awakening, words begin to lose their place. Not because they're unimportant, but because they're no longer enough. Language that once helped you name your experiences now feels too small, too narrow, too slow to keep up with the truth moving through your body. You find yourself hesitating before speaking, not because you don't have something to say, but because what you feel is too layered to be captured by sentences. It's not confusion. It's expansion. And maybe, for the first time, you realize that communication isn't confined to words. You are beginning to speak, and more importantly, to hear, through something deeper, energy. Today, the alignment in the skies is activating this shift in perception. You're not just interpreting others through what they say. You're reading the frequency beneath their words. You're sensing truth in the silence between the lines. A look, a pause, a tremble in someone's voice now says more than an entire paragraph ever could. You are speaking a new language now. A language of vibration, sensation, intuitive response. One that your spirit already knows how to use, even if your mind hasn't yet caught up. This is the language of the soul. And in many ways, it's the oldest language you've ever known. The one you used before you had to explain yourself. Before the world told you to package your feelings neatly. Before you learned to speak for approval rather than truth. In this new space, you don't need to say much to be fully understood. And you're no longer satisfied by surface-level conversation. You crave resonance. You want to feel someone's presence, not just hear their words. You long for connection that happens in the quiet, the kind that drops into the space between you and creates a frequency both of you can feel. This may feel strange at first. You might find yourself walking away from conversations that feel energetically off, even if they sound perfectly polite. You might begin to feel instantly drawn to someone without exchanging a single word. You may sense that you've spoken to someone in your dreams, or felt someone thinking of you before they reached out. These aren't coincidences. They're confirmations. The veil is thinner now. And you are becoming fluent in the unseen. This isn't about reading minds. It's about feeling truth before it's spoken. It's about honoring the energetic message instead of only the verbal one. And it's about realizing that your own presence now speaks volumes. The way you enter a space. The stillness you carry. The clarity you hold. These are not invisible. They're deeply felt. Even by those who don't know how to name what they're sensing. So today, give yourself permission to pause before you speak. To let your energy do the talking. To honor the frequency you carry even when it doesn't fit into a sentence. Because the more you live in resonance, the less you need to explain. The more you trust what you feel, the more you magnetize others who understand you without needing the translation. You are not becoming less clear. You are becoming more true. And truth, when spoken through energy, never needs to raise its voice. And just as words begin to dissolve into energy, another layer of your soul's communication begins to rise, through dreams, flashes, symbols, and sequences that seem random on the surface, but carry a quiet weight you can't ignore. You may have noticed it already, strange dreams that linger long after waking. Unexplained images flashing into your awareness at odd moments. Numbers that repeat, on clocks, receipts, license plates, as if the universe is highlighting something in plain sight, asking, "Are you watching? Are you awake?" These aren't tricks of the mind. They are breadcrumbs, subtle but deliberate messages from your higher self. A secret map, unfolding in real time, leading you not to something outside of you, but back to a truth buried within. Dreams are one of the few places where your soul can speak to you without interference. And right now, that channel is open. What you saw in your sleep last night, the image that felt out of place this morning, the strange phrase that echoed in your mind for no reason at all, they're not accidents. They are parts of a symbolic language that your soul has always known how to read. You used it as a child, before the world trained you out of it. You knew what a look meant. What a silence meant. What a certain recurring image in your dreams was trying to tell you. And now, that wisdom is returning. You don't need to decode everything all at once. In fact, you won't be able to. These messages aren't designed to be puzzles. They're designed to open you, layer by layer, to a deeper understanding of yourself and your path. Some symbols will make sense immediately. Others will sit quietly inside you for days or weeks, until one moment, without warning, they click into place. Trust the process. The map is alive. It reveals itself as you're ready. You might receive a dream that doesn't feel like a dream at all, more like a memory from another realm, or a conversation with a being you've never met, yet feel deeply familiar with. You might begin to feel that your intuition is speaking to you in images more than words. That a simple feather on the ground, a flickering light, a whisper of déjà vu holds more guidance than an entire paragraph of advice. That's not delusion. That's remembrance. Because right now, your subconscious is not working against you, it's working with your soul. Bringing back what you've forgotten. Pointing you toward what you're ready to see. And if you pay attention, even gently, you'll begin to see the map taking shape. Not in straight lines, but in symbols. Not in directions, but in vibrations. Follow what feels alive, charged, sacred. That's your sign. And when the message isn't clear, don't force it. Let it unfold in layers. The wisdom you're receiving now is not for one moment, it's for your becoming. And your higher self, the part of you that exists beyond time, is orchestrating each symbol like notes in a song you're just beginning to remember how to hear. So write down the dreams. Circle the numbers. Revisit the strange image that won't leave your mind. These are not distractions. These are anchors. And the more you honor them, the more easily the path ahead will reveal itself, not all at once, but one sacred symbol at a time. April 9th is not loud, but it is profound. It is the kind of threshold you don't always notice while you're crossing it, only later, when you realize you no longer think the same, walk the same, or feel the same in your own skin. Something subtle has shifted. A veil has lifted. And the version of you that once questioned your path now quietly remembers, you've been walking it all along. This is not a day of reinvention. It is a day of return. You are not being asked to become someone new. You are being invited to remember who you were before the noise, before the conditioning, before the doubt. Beneath the layers of adaptation and survival lies your original frequency, clear, intuitive, whole. And today, that frequency is beginning to rise again. Not to take you somewhere else, but to bring you home to yourself. Let the old story fall away. Let the outdated roles, the borrowed identities, the quiet self-betrayals dissolve. There's nothing to prove anymore. Only something to reclaim. You are stepping into a new chapter, not by force, but by resonance. Not by striving, but by aligning. This is the beginning of sacred remembrance. And from here, everything becomes clearer. If you feel this, if something in you knows you've just crossed into deeper territory, comment 777 to mark your moment of return. And if you know someone whose soul is quietly awakening too, share this with them. Not everyone will feel this day. But those who do, are already listening. And now, so are you. Welcome back.